Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today we have some very exciting news out of Monolith Soft, one of my personal favorite developers, and the news is that they are now beginning hiring for a new RPG directed by none other than Tetsuya Takahashi, which is really big news. Let's talk about it. Alright, so this came out late last night where they posted this kind of press release on the Monolith Soft website, which we'll read through in just a second, but this is really exciting news. Now, Monolith Soft, if you don't know, one of my favorite developers, the developers of Xenogears, Xenosaga, Xenoblade Chronicles, of course. They also do a lot of support work on stuff like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon, and Animal Crossing. So they are a very versatile studio for Nintendo, but when it comes to their original RPGs, some of my favorite Nintendo games ever made. I love Xenoblade so freaking much. I'm a bit of a fake fan, I guess. I still need to go back and play Xenosaga and Xenogears, although those are up on my list of high priority games that I need to go back and play. But to hear that they are hiring for a new RPG specifically being developed by Takahashi is very important. Tetsuya Takahashi is instrumental to what Xenoblade is. This man is the executive director on these games. He is the kind of main scenario writer. He does a lot of concept work. He is very instrumental to what Xenoblade is. However, he has not been the lead director of a game from the studio, I want to say, since Xenosaga Episode 1. So in their tenure as a Nintendo studio, Tetsuya Takahashi has not fully directed a game by himself. That's going to happen now with this new game that they're hiring for. So I'll read through the blog post they put up on their website, and then we'll take it from there. It's kind of long, so bear with me for a second. Also, keep in mind this is machine translated, so there might be a little bit of weird English here. Hello, everyone. This is Takahashi from Monolith Soft. This time, we are recruiting development staff for Monolith Soft's first production for the first time in a long time. I can't go into the details here, but the genre is a, quote, new RPG. The new RPG is taking on many new challenges compared to previous Monolith Soft titles. Naturally, the content to be created is becoming more sophisticated, so we need many talented people, which is why we are now looking for people. For convenience, we have narrowed down the job types to 8, but we are basically looking for people in all areas. The required skill level is also all-round, from asset creation to leading roles. As I mentioned in the previous recruitment, Monolith Soft has been producing games with a small number of people compared to the scale of the titles we make. This was something we were proud of, but the current situation in the gaming scene means that we can no longer say so. For example, the days of using human wave tactics to produce a large amount of material have long since come to an end, and it has become commonplace to provide an efficient production environment. So basically he's saying here, we make very big games, and we've done so with a pretty lean staff overall, but with how, graphically intensive games are, with how much they're costing to make, we simply need more people if we are to keep a similar release cadence to what we have shown you guys so far. So that's what he's saying there. They need more people if they want to keep pumping out games at the pace they have been. He continues, quote, in order to meet the ever-increasing demands of our customers, it is important to have a wide range of knowledge and horizontal connections that utilize that knowledge. In the role-playing game genre, each specification, such as the field, battle, characters, quests, and story, is closely linked. To be honest, it is difficult to create each part independently, especially in the case of open-world type works, which have become commonplace these days. Of course, it is not impossible to create the game that way, but if there is no horizontal cooperation, it will be immediately obvious to customers who play the game, and that is not our intention. We put a lot of effort into creating our games, so we want as many customers as possible to enjoy them. This has been the thought that has driven the creation of our games at Monolith Soft. For this recruitment, we are looking for people who share this sentiment and are looking for such a production environment. And then he closes here, I know I may have sounded a little formal, but Monolith Soft is not a rigid organization. At least in the first production, we are a relatively rough and sloppy organization, which is what makes us unique. Please feel free to come visit us. Let's create new works and a new organization together. So this is explicitly, when he's saying first production there, he's referring to Monolith Soft's Tokyo studio. That is their first production unit. So this is a game being made by the core Xenoblade team. For those unfamiliar with the Monolith Soft structure, it's a little hard to, really pin down exactly who's where doing what, but essentially they have 3 core teams. They have their main studio in Tokyo, which makes the Xenoblade franchise. Then they have a much smaller studio in Kyoto that supports on the Zelda series, and then they have another team that helps with EPD5's games, being Animal Crossing and Splatoon. Now, if we actually look at what they are hiring for, he said there were 8 roles that they're specifically hiring for, though they're kind of hiring for anything, really. They have a 2D designer for artwork staff. They have a 3D CG designer listed here for the character, and then one for the map, development environment engineer, field level designer, assistant director, in-game animator, and effect designer. So basically, they're just hiring across the board to bulk up their staff for this new RPG. But what will this actually be? Well, that's basically impossible to pin down. I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, this is going to be a brand new IP for Monolith Soft, and that very well may be. This could be a new Monolith Soft IP, which would be freaking really exciting. Like, as much as I love Xenoblade, and while I think there's plenty of stories to tell there, and it could be Xenoblade Chronicles 4 with some sort of new gameplay elements that isn't typical of the Xenoblade series. Maybe they switch to a more action-oriented game. Maybe they switch to a more turn-based game, like a proper turn-based game from Monolith Soft. That would be incredible. You know, it could be a new IP. This does read more like we are making a new IP. I'm not going to say that for certain, though, so take that for what it is. If that is the case, that is awesome. We probably won't see this game for quite a while. I would say the earliest we even see it at this point would probably be maybe 2027, 2028. Like, this would be probably mid-life cycle for the Switch 2 at this point. Like, this is going to be very early. I assume they've probably done some pre-pro for this, but this is their first post mentioning it, so I can't imagine this project is very far along in development, so we'll have to wait and see what it actually ends up being. But whether or not it's another Xenoblade game with a new gameplay style, or if it's a new IP, either way, with Tetsuya Takahashi directing it, you can bet that this is going to be a big deal. This game is going to be very important for Nintendo the year it comes out, and it will probably be... I can already tell you, like, Monolith Soft has my trust. I know that this is going to be my favorite game the year it comes out. They have completely won me over with their past several games. So this is like already, even though we don't know anything about it really, this is like at the top of my excitement list when it comes to upcoming Nintendo games. But here's something interesting, right? So if you follow the Monolith Soft development scene, or just a lot of Nintendo speculators, there has been a lot of talk of this concept art that I believe got posted on the Monolith Soft website back in, I want to say, 2018. And it's this really cool high fantasy art of this girl that maybe kind of looks like Zelda with a sword. There's another piece of art that looks like a knight in some sort of like Zelda-esque temple. So a lot of people have really been running with the idea that this is a new IP, a new action RPG based on some hirings that occurred around that time. They were hiring for a new action game. And that concept art has been on their hiring page for quite some time. However, they actually removed it with the addition of this new post from Tetsuya Takahashi. And a lot of people are speculating, like, well, what does this mean? Is this game dead in the water? Maybe it's done, and that's why they're not hiring for it anymore. A lot of people think this will be a Switch 2, not launch title, but launch window game. Like, first year, we're going to see this new action RPG from Monolith Soft. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this definitively, but I've always questioned whether or not this actually even was a game that's like a new IP. Now, from my understanding, while a lot of people thought it was specifically a hiring for Monolith Soft Tokyo, the team that makes Xenoblade, I'm pretty sure the truth is that it was actually just a more general hiring post for all the Monolith Soft studios. And if you look at the timeline here, and if you look at the concept art, I feel like this was Tears of the Kingdom. They started hiring in 2018. That's around the time that Tears of the Kingdom entered development. It is a high fantasy game. Monolith Soft helped create a high fantasy game. And most importantly, if it started development in 2018, if they were hiring for it in 2018, we would have seen this by now. Which is why I feel like it is Tears of the Kingdom. Monolith Soft makes games very, very quickly. Now, it's possible they had a skeleton crew working on this game for the past several years, and then up until recently, they kind of ramped up development, and we'll see it on Switch 2 very early. But just timeline-wise, I think this might be one of those things where it's better to just kind of assume that this concept art and this hiring post and this thought of a new action RPG developed by Monolith Soft, I think it's a safer assumption that it was Tears of the Kingdom based on timeline. That's just me personally, though. I would love to be wrong. I would love to get a new action RPG from Monolith Soft in the first year of Switch, and I do think they will have a game ready pretty early on for the Switch 2. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out in 2022, then we had Future Redeemed, but that's, of course, a smaller project using a lot of assets. We will probably see something in the first 12 months of the Switch 2 from Monolith Soft, because at that point, I mean, yeah, Xenoblade 2 would already be 3 years old by then, so I think it's very likely they have something early for the Switch 2. I'm just not completely sold on it being this action RPG, this new IP with this high fantasy setting. I mean, that'd be very cool once again, but I'm not gonna set myself up for that. I'm leaning towards it having been Zelda the entire time. Now, talking a little bit more about this RPG from Tetsuya Takahashi, if you remember, back in May, Washed Up Leaker Midori, which I know, crazy that I'm bringing up Midori in this video, right? But Washed Up Leaker Midori, who we know had a lot of valid information, they actually did tweet something that I think is probably related to this. So they tweeted out back then, I was told a few months ago that Monolith Soft was working on a project with codename Legacy, but I do not have any other information. Now, I was very critical of Midori at this time, talking about why are people getting so excited about codenames. I think it was a very boring period for Nintendo leaks and rumors. However, with the information that we have now, knowing that Tetsuya Takahashi is directing his first project since Xenosaga, Episode 1, this is certainly that, right? Like, what better code name for something from this director, this esteemed director who hasn't directed a game in over 20 years? What better code name than Legacy? Now, maybe this could be something connected to Xenosaga, and I will say, if we're expecting a new IP, I think it is more realistic that we get something that is Xenoblank. I'm not expecting a fully new IP from Monolith Soft, but a new Xeno sub-series, I think that is very possible. And with him returning as the lead director on this game, I just feel like these things connect, right? Like, this codename Legacy, I do believe was real. I do think that Midori had some correct information there, and that is likely Tetsuya Takahashi's project within Monolith Soft, which is so exciting. But with all that said, let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think of this new RPG coming from the first production team over at Monolith Soft with Tetsuya Takahashi directing? What do you think of the removal of the concept art for the new IP action game that everybody's been hoping for the past several years? I think it is a very exciting time to be a Nintendo fan, but also a Monolith Soft fan, because either way, like I said, I do think we will see something next year. Whenever there's that big first Switch 2 reveal where they show a bunch of games, Monolith Soft is going to have a game there. Even if it's not out for another like 12 months after that, we will see a Monolith Soft project at that event, because Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I said Xenoblade 2 earlier, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 by that point will be almost 3 years old. They work very quick. Monolith Soft is a team that is constantly pumping out games, and if they were working on this new action IP that I still think is Zelda, but maybe I'm wrong, if they were working on that entire time, we're going to see that very soon, which is just so exciting. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and of course subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all of that fun stuff. Check out my new channel at It's Amiibo over on YouTube here. That channel is doing a lot better than I expected it to do out the gate. We're already closing in on 500 subscribers, so if you want to go support me over there, I would very much appreciate it. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Until next time, folks, peace.